welcome to my presentation on Hawaiian phonology. Um, First of all, we got to get through my sources real quick. I use the Hawaiian Journal of the International Phonetic Association for my phonemic inventory. Basically that, and allophones, some like insight on allophones in the Hawaiian language. Journal of the Polynesian Society I used for my information on fast speech in particular, and the optimality theoretic account of English loanwords in Hawaiian is where I got wait yeah is where I got phonotactics from, in addition to more advanced phonological processes in which we use epenthesis and deletion, which we'll get into later. But it's just easier to denote them with loanwords in particular because it's just easier to find them. Anyways, let's get into it. It's a phonemic inventory of Hawaiian, one of the smallest phonemic inventories in history. Only 8 or so consonants, right? Yeah, 8 consonants in total. All of them are phonemic in nature. The allophones come into play with like things like T and K, which tends to be like which fell from a regional dialect and like a historical shift from other languages coming from further down the chain in Polynesia. So then that's T and K. Key plant and the T plant are the exact same thing. All consonants on this list are phonemic, as I said earlier. So we have like the glottal stop before this word. So ava means sour and bitter, and then ava means, oh my god, it's so hard to not. Ava, there we go. And that means port/harbor. So also another interesting thing, I'd say that the glottal stop is the most interesting one because you don't see that in English very often, especially not denoting words or like being contrastive in the sense of like changing a word. Most of the time it's like an allophone in English. Anyways, that's pretty cool. Next we have the second little fun thing about Hawaiian is the contrastive long vowels. It's denoted by a kahako in Hawaiian, but it's just in IPA it's just a long vowel. So that's denoted over here. The contrastiveness is denoted over here, in which we have a V. The V is So vahine means woman, and then vahine means like plural women, like plural and singular, etc. You get what I'm saying. Anyways, there are diphthongs in the Hawaiian language, however, in which all of them are rising. So as you can see, they go from like A to E, like ao, I, and then oi, like etc. For long diphthongs, there's like a shorter list. That's pretty much it. As we'll see later, diphthongs, you cannot go back down this chain because then it starts a new syllable, which we'll get into in a little bit when we talk about the phonotactics. First of all, I want to cover allophones really quickly. So a lot of the documentation of this stuff gets really blurry because a lot of the time in a lot of these cases missionaries would denote the speech patterns of Hawaiian people, and they would when they would converse with them, they would say that things can be supplemented for each other when they actually couldn't. So missionaries used to say things like P and B could be supplemented for each other, but like those are both bilabial stops, and they're like and like the Hawaiian people kind of just like approved that, or like understood what they were saying rather than it being considered, rather than them saying it themselves. Like Hawaiian people never said B in the first place, but missionaries said that they could be used interchangeably and said that they had free variation when they actually don't. Basically what I'm trying to say is some of these letters I'm not listing in particular because they were never in the phonemic inventory of Hawaiian or Polynesian languages in the first place. They were just brought over by missionaries in particular. Anyways, regardless, things like these, T and K and like W and V are the only ones that actually were rooted in Polynesian culture instead of like R and L and this and that. So like T and K, free variation as we mentioned earlier with like the T plant, T and key mean the same thing, and W and V was free variation, but it's interpreted as an allophone, but it probably was a result of a forgotten phonological process. In this example, there are cases in which a W glide actually appears in between luahine. It just goes luahine instead of luvahine. So there are like certain cases, but like W is actually pronounced as V, but they are in free variation, but it technically in this word in particular, it is grammatically incorrect. Regardless, we can get into the phonotactics now. So the onset consists of a vowel with an optional consonant. A lot of the cases, the consonant is in the word though. So like, this is kind of like the one exception I could find is avakea, which is like afternoon. Basically, it's very rare. Most of the time, it is preceded with a glottal stop as the optional consonant, but like the consonant appears like the glottal stop at the very beginning of the word tends to appear. Regardless, repeated vowel combinations are impossible within a single syllable, unless it's a rising diphthong. So if you ever go down from like ao or io, etc., it'll change. It's no longer a syllable. It's no longer the same syllable. It'll be a different syllable. So we have the possible. Also, consonant pairs are not allowed either. It's always vowel. It's always vowels and stuff. Anyways, that's that. Possible phonotactics are like CV, which is like ke. An example is ke, which means the. We have v. We have two vowels, which is ea, which means sovereignty. We have just v, just a vowel, which is a. And of. There's a period there. I don't know why there's a period there. And then consonant vowel, which is like I, which means to eat. And then these are impossible ones like mak, which couldn't happen because no consonant at the end, no coda, no coda ever, basically. Op doesn't work and kolp does not work because, no codas are allowed. Anyways, so phonological processes. So this happens in fast speech in particular. So vowel raising occurs in unstressed syllables. So like in Maui, where there is no, so in like the word Maui, where there is no stress, it reduces from Maui to Maui. And then this happens again in the pronunciation of Elua. This one's more clear because there's a clear stress in this sound in particular, in which the U is stressed. So Elua, Elua reduces to Elua. And then thirdly, I need to be more careful with my pronunciation, is ekahi, in which the stress is actually on the A, so it just does not change at all and stays as ekahi. So essentially, A turns to like delta or schwa in an unstressed syllable. And lastly is the phonological processes continued, as denoted over here. So Singapore is transcribed from Singapore in English to Ki Na Po. So essentially the goal of all of these phonological processes is to break up paired consonants into things that follow the phonotactics of the Hawaiian language. So as denoted further on, so like the word pun in English is transcribed into puna, in which there's an epenthesis of the final vowel to fit the syllabic structure. Basically, you have to add the A at the end of pun in order for it to fit. You know what I mean? But yeah. And it's also shown in the first two syllables of singa. You're basically breaking up the N or NG kind of the inga sounding thing, and you're breaking those up into two syllables. Anyways, that's it. That's that. Also, in other loan words, the deletion of consonants in the coda is commonplace. Like in the word collar, I have an example here, like the word collar, in which collar turns to kala. And then for a random derivation, I chose the word power. So power in English. So first of all, we have to admit the coda because we can't have that because, phonotactics, codas are prohibited. So it goes to pawa. And then we have to raise the vowel, the schwa of into like a delta rather than a schwa. So then we see it's technically still a vowel raising because, it goes up a little bit. Anyways, vowel raising due to the lack of stress is pawa, and that's, I guess that's it. Get my works cited, and yeah, that's about it.